Welcome to another episode of Conversations in Music. I'm your host, Wes Byrd, and our guest today is a jazz pianist and composer from Montreux, Switzerland. He now lives in the Big Apple, New York City. We sat down to talk about his life, his career, and his thoughts on the current state of music. His discography goes back more than 3 decades. I'm talking about the talented and the amazing Mr. Alex Bugnon. Welcome to the conversation. So Alex, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Wes.
Awesome, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It was awesome. Awesome.
Welcome back
be
to
here.
Atlanta. I don't
Thank
know,
you.
you probably played in Atlanta, what, 500 times now?
Yeah, something like that.
So
At
this
least
is,
twice a year.
yeah, this is like a second home to you.
Yeah.
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 Well, you are from Switzerland, Montreux, Switzerland.
Yep. The French-speaking part of Switzerland, which is the
French-
western part.
Okay.
The northern part and the eastern part is German.
Really?
And the
know
southern
that.
part is Italian.
Right. So west is French.
Yeah.
North,
East
east
is German.
and south,
South speaks Italian.
speaks Italian. I
Yeah.
never knew that.
Oh man.
I never knew that. 'Cause I've actually never been to Switzerland. I've been a lot of
No.
places, but never to Switzerland.
Oh.
It's known or home to one of the most famous jazz festivals in the world, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of people there. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing there and kind of some of the people that you've seen come through there and play music.
Well, it's my father being a jazz musician.
Mm-hmm.
We had lots of friends. He had lots of friends even before I was born who were jazz musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was born, musicians came whenever they came to Montreux. They always made a stop to our house.
Nice.
So I mean, I can't even remember the first time I saw Clark Terry or Donald Byrd was my uncle.
Yeah.
You know, so he brought a whole bunch of people to our
Mhm.
house. I've always been around jazz musicians, so I was always in awe of them.
Yeah.
But it was a constant thing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just amazing. I mean, there are so many people that came to our house. I remember a little anecdote. It was maybe year 2000, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I was touring in the States. My mother calls me. It was during the festival. And she said, "Oh, Alex, hi, how you doing? Somebody wants to say hi." And I said, "Oh, okay, fine." So I take she passes the phone and said, "Alex, hi, it's George. I'm drinking your wine." It was George Duke.
Right.
And I was hanging
At
out
your
with
house.
my parents.
Wow.
Went into the cellar, got the wine that I was keeping. So I'm drinking your wine. So
What you gonna do about it, huh?
yeah, exactly.
Right,
What you gonna
right.
do? It's like, no.
So that's interesting. You didn't say they came to the city. You said they came to your house.
Yeah.
So at what age did you realize who you were amongst? Because I'm sure as a youngster, it was just like, okay, cool, some people coming through, they play music. But what age were you when you locked in and realized, oh, this is Clark Terry, or this is, whoever? What age was that?
8.
About 8.
When I first went to a show at the Montreux Jazz Festival, and
Mhm.
my first show was Aretha Franklin.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't remember the music, but I remember the sequin dress like it was yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the first glimpse of music that I remember was Les McCann
Okay. Yeah.
and that famous record that they have, Compared to What.
Yes.
I was there.
Wow.
And Amar Jamal.
Mm-hmm.
There is one record that he did for A&M where he plays Rhodes and piano that was recorded in Montreux. I was at that show too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that they're both piano players, and they're the one that I remember.
Yeah.
Aretha is a piano player,
Correct.
Ahmad, and so it's just that was the first time that I realized, wow,
This is what's happening.
this
this
is
heavy.
people actually flock this place to see these people on stage.
Mm-hmm. From all over the world.
What is it was just awesome.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. So you've been in this industry now for over 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
dating back to the 80s when you released your first record.
Mm-hmm.
But that happened once you came to the States. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
So how
many
did
years
you-
after I came to the
Yeah. So how did you migrate all the way from Switzerland to this? This was pre-internet. This was pre-everything. What brought you to America?
Berkeley College of Music.
Berkeley College of Music.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came to Berkeley when I was just 18.
Oh,
I
nice.
couldn't
Okay.
speak English that well.
Hmm.
I came by myself. I flew by myself, and I took a cab. I remember from the airport. I don't know how I got to Berkeley, but I got there,
Hmm.
and I registered myself to school, registered myself to the dorm,
Hmm.
and that's not speaking English
Right.
that well. And I just did my first semester at Berkeley.
Hmm.
I lived in Boston for a few years.
Hmm.
I was in bands in Boston. Some of them included Bradford, Marsalis.
Hmm. Bass saxophonist. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, I was in school with Jeff Watts, Minnie Smith,
Hmm.
a lot of people like that.
Incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. So tell us about your first record. I think it was 1989. I said 18.
1989. Yep. Yep.
1989.
Yep.
So I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Tell us about that first record and how you got started with the label
Well,
here in New York.
I was playing with Freddie Jackson at the time. I was the regular touring keyboard player
Hmm.
for everybody in the book.
Right.
I was doing everybody's tour. Uh, uh, my first gig that I had in the city was with Melba Moore.
Melba Moore.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then she put me on the tour with Freddie Jackson, and then I got on the tour with Najee because Najee and Freddie Jackson had the same manager.
Okay.
So I went on and toured with Najee, and his record company said between shows one night they came to me and they said, "Well, we made a lot of money with Najee, and we think we can make a lot of money with you. Would you like to do a record?"
Hmm.
And I've never set out to be an artist. I always set out to be a producer, a songwriter,
Hmm.
studio cat.
Hmm.
That's what I was aiming to be.
Right.
And this thing kind of fell on my lap.
Hmm.
Um, then I spent the better part of 1988 in the tour bus with Porter Studios and drum machines and recording. After I said yes to this record,
Hmm.
we did a bunch of demos. We brought them back to New York to the record company. They said yes, 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 no, yes, yes, and then we got all the songs together. And one day they gave me a budget, and we went into the studio. And Victor Bailey was one of the
Hmm.
producers and bass
Hmm.
player.
Hmm.
Fuji Bell,
Hmm.
Ronnie Song um, was one of the producers, and this record just I had no idea it was going to do so good.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a total shock for me
Hmm.
that it was so well received
So
because we had fun doing that.
right.
We didn't set out to say we got to get this record out, we got to have a number one hit. We just had fun in the tour bus,
Yeah.
and bam,
Hmm.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
So
So how when you're approaching a new record, or
mhm.
you say, okay, I want to go in and record a new record, what's your process? Because I know different people have different process how they write songs. I've heard people say they have dreams about songs, they wake up and they put it on paper, whatever. What's your process as a composer or songwriter when you get ready to go in and do a song?
Concentration at the
Hmm.
piano,
Hmm.
a piece of paper, a piece of music paper,
Hmm.
and the pencil, and I play until I get something that grabs me. And sometimes I get things that grab me from records that I hear,
Uh-huh.
even if it's a
Inspiration.
snippet.
Yeah.
And it's not copying. It's like, oh, I like this, but I like it better if I do it like that.
Hmm.
So it's like a little 4 bar things, or something. Sometimes it just comes out of nowhere.
Hmm.
But it's always to me is like getting inside of myself, concentrating and playing some music at the piano, and eventually coming up with something that has value.
Hmm.
And if you don't do it for a while, for example, me for like 5 6 years now, I literally didn't write anything. Why?
Wow.
Because I have these kids that are young,
Hmm.
4 and 7,
Yeah.
and by the time when they go to bed, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, I
Exhausted. Yeah.
cannot go in the studio and start working on stuff. I'm done.
Hmm.
So it's been a little hard on this tip, but you know, they're wonderful. They're more precious to me than any tune I could ever write.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. There's inspiration in itself, I'm
yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So when I hear you play, we've worked together for a number of years now, known each other, had several conversations. Who are some of your influences? Because I hear a lot of different people
Hmm.
inside your own playing. You have
Yeah.
your own voice, don't get me wrong, but who are some of the influences that you heard and say, okay, I like that, I like that, I like that, and kind of made an amalgam of your own sound?
Herbie, George Duke, Joe Sample, McCoy Tyner.
Wow, that's yeah, I can hear all those.
The phrasing of
Hmm.
McCoy Tyner is my favorite.
Hmm.
The way he phrases his solo, the way he plays his chords up and down. Um, I always loved McCoy rhythm in his phrasing.
Hmm.
I always loved the funk that George could bring into one little note,
Yeah.
especially on the mini moog or the CP70 or the
Hmm.
Rhodes. I love the intricacy of Herbie,
Hmm.
all the inside stuff that he put in his chords.
Yeah.
And Joe is like it's just the impulsive. It's the everything that comes out with Joe.
Yeah.
It's just the pure improvisation.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those are the same influences that when
Yeah,
I first heard them, it just was something about their voice,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they all have their distinct
yeah,
themes. So
yeah,
I totally get that.
yeah.
Totally, 100%. Um, so you bring up Najee, you brought up Donald Byrd.
Hmm.
So obviously my last name is Byrd. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, are you related to Donald Byrd? Are you related to Donald Byrd? Are you related to Donald Byrd? And you're actually his nephew.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that relationship, and I'm sure it meant a lot for you meeting people like Herbie and being able to connect with people like that.
Well, I met Donald when I was 2 years old. I don't
Okay.
remember it, but I was told
Okay.
that he I think it was 1958. He came to France for the
Mm-hmm.
first time,
Mm-hmm.
and my aunt, my mother's sister, lived in Paris. She was a nurse in
Mm-hmm.
Paris, and she was going out. She was a jazz club rat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every jazz club in Paris she would be in.
Yeah.
And Donald Byrd came with his quintet one time, and she just flipped out. He flipped out, and they started going out together. They moved in together in Paris. He went back to New York. He came back a year later and lived in Paris for 2 years. He was studying classical music with a very famous composition teacher back then in
Mm-hmm.
Paris. So they hooked up like that, and he started to come to Switzerland to see my parents with my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the hospital when I was two. I had some kind of a respiratory thing, and they had put me under oxygen tent for like a week.
Wow.
Whatever that was,
Mm-hmm.
it was nothing. I'm still here, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still remember he brought me a 3-story garage. He's from Detroit, so
Mm-hmm.
he always loved cars. And he brought me this 3-story garage with elevator and cars going down this thing. And I still remember that's the first time that I met him.
Wow.
And when I decided to be a musician was when I was 14 years old. He came and spent the whole summer in Europe because he was playing at the Montreux Jazz Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed with him the whole month of July.
Wow.
And I was able to see the regimen that he was going through every day. He would wake up, listen to classical music,
Mm-hmm.
and then just listen with the score, the Mahler, Beethoven, Stravinsky, whatever. And then he would practice with just his mouthpiece, and then he would start writing music, writing exercise for trumpets, write tunes, and then he would more, he would be listening to more music, and then he would go to rehearsal, then sound check, then the show, and then the next day it's the same thing over and over. And when I saw that regimen that he was going through, I said, "Oh, I love that. That was just for me." That
Mhm.
that thing, because I'm very regimented myself.
Mhm.
And when I saw what he was doing, I said to myself, "That's what I want to do."
That was your decision.
Yeah,
Or well, one of the influences for your decision.
yeah. 14 years old.
14 years
Yep.
old. That's about around the time it clicked for me too.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
around that time. I had been playing since I was 5,
Yeah.
but and classical at
Yeah,
that as
yeah,
well. And it's
yeah.
just one day, it's just something just clicked. It's like
Yeah, because we go through this 8 to 12, like we don't know what we want to do.
Mhm.
You start having girls in your life,
Yes.
you know. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, and then 13 and 14 is when you start building thoughts for the rest of your life. I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can totally agree with that. So music is obviously a huge chunk of your life.
Hmm.
When you're not doing music, what are some of your hobbies? What do you do for fun? What do you do just to take your mind away from everything? Because this is still work. You know, it's fun,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
see, you know, us on stage, but it's work that goes into it,
Mhm.
preparation and all that. So, what do you do outside of this genre of music?
I go in the mountains. I go
Mhm.
in the woods, and I go running. I do a whole bunch of stuff in the woods or in the mountains. I have a big mountain right in front of our house where we live, so
Nice.
we can get lost in there for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in New York, correct?
New York State. Yeah.
New York State.
Yeah, New York State.
So is that the first? Well, you went to Boston. You said first. Why did you end up in New York? Everybody's trying to get to LA. Why not LA for you? Why did you choose New York?
Because I was more influenced with the jazz cats
Okay.
at Berkeley.
Mhm.
Branford, Smitty, Jeff Watts, Wallace Roney, trumpet player,
Mhm.
Doug Harrison, and all these guys moved to New York because he was the it was and I was more into New York funk. I was into Kashif.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
into Change, you know, those kind of bands,
Mhm.
and those were in New York, and that's what I like.
Yeah, so that was a pit
And
stop.
to me, LA was like another planet,
Yeah.
and I still had a lot of ties to Europe,
Mhm.
Paris and Switzerland, so I didn't want to go even farther away than what I had already come to. Because when you're in New York or Boston, go to Europe, it's 6 hours. It's just like going
Yeah.
to LA.
Easy flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any upcoming projects you're working on with anybody in collaborations?
No collaboration aside from what I already recorded
Mhm.
um, with one of my all-time favorite drummers and bass players, Byron Miller
Byron Miller.
and Dugu. We recorded that a little bit before he passed away.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still haven't put that out.
Gotcha.
I've been working on other business ventures
Mhm.
with my wife for the last 6 7 years,
Nice.
and having that and having the kids is been like and having to go on the road.
Mhm.
It's been really hard for me to finish up a project. I must
Gotcha.
admit,
Yeah.
but I will get to it.
I got you.
You
If you wasn't doing music, what would you be doing? What would be your gig?
know. Wow. Uh, you know what? I really don't know.
That's a good answer. That
At
means
home dad.
at home dad.
That's
I
right.
like that. Stay at home dad. I got
That's
you.
right.
Well, you're here at St. James Live tonight in Atlanta. This is your first time here.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience.
Well, I've heard about this place for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was booked at the other place in Atlanta for a long time, so it
Mm-hmm.
was hard for me to to go to juggle both because it's
Right.
how
Yeah,
it
of
is.
course, of course.
And but I was like, God, I wish I could play St. James live
Mm-hmm.
because everything that I always saw on Facebook or Instagram about this place showed me that it was a real venue, like a real music venue.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'm glad I did tonight. Finally,
Awesome. We had a
finally
smoking
made it.
band too. We had
Yeah,
a super
that's good.
smoking band.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm sure the people enjoyed you. I mean, the standing ovation said it all. I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
the
You know.
encore, they asked for encore, the whole nine.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll be glad to have you back anytime you want to come back. So let us know.
Anytime you invite me, I'll be back, man.
We'll make that happen soon.
Thank you.
Last question, Alex. If you can give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
To my younger self,
To your younger self, young Alex, coming up with the information you have now, the experience you have now, what would that advice be?
wow. I don't know if it's that politically correct or
Give it to us.
give it to you.
Give it whatever it is.
Work on your craft.
Mhm.
Uh, you don't need to get in debt with a college for the next 30 years to become a really good musician. You have to really apply yourself, listen to the stuff that matters, and practice on the stuff that matters, and do it every day for hours. I did that for hours, but you know, that's what I would. A younger self would be somebody who would come up now
Mhm.
with the way the world is right now.
Mhm.
For example, my kids.
Right.
I'm not sure I would say yes to go to Berkeley. To tell you the truth,
Interesting.
you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Do you feel like the tools are there now, where you can not necessarily have to get it from that
Yes.
institution?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so too. You know,
Absolutely.
with the information age right now, everything's at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand how to use it correctly, I think it could be very beneficial. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For everything nowadays, even the 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 smallest little unimportant thing,
Hmm.
there is somebody on YouTube that'll tell you how to do it.
Absolutely.
It's sad to
YouTube
say.
University, YouTube University, what I call it. No,
Yeah.
I go to
Yeah.
YouTube a lot,
Yeah.
so that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
And I would like to tell myself, my younger self, and my kids. That's really who I'm talking to.
Hmm.
To really work on being entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
To me, being an entrepreneur is the way to go,
Hmm.
moving forward in this world. I think.
I can agree. I can agree.
You know.
Let people know where they can find you online.
Uh, you have Instagram, Alex Bugnon, Facebook, Alex Bugnon, my friends page, my musician page, and alexbugnon.com. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you,
Looking
Wes.
forward to the
It's
next time, brother.
awesome day. Awesome day.
Absolutely. Cool, man.